All right, everybody, welcome into the week. What do we have going on here for you guys? Let's see what wants to come through. I see that soulmate card. As I'm doing this reading, we are in the energy of that full moon at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And I've been talking pretty much all year about Pluto and Pluto moving into Aquarius last year and then again this year. And now it's about to move back into Capricorn. So we are really closing out the cycles that started in 2008. There could be a little mini cycle that happened in this last month when we had a full moon in Capricorn at 1 degree right during the solstice. And then again, now full moon in Capricorn at 29 degrees here at the 21st of July. So moving forward, when we do have Pluto going back into Capricorn, and it will be doing that September, October time, it's going to go direct October 11th and then move forward, and it's going to hit Aquarius again November 19th or 20th. So this is an energy of tying up loose ends. The cycle could have started in 2008 for you. It's not just about personal cycles. This is could be about clearing generational curses or clearing cycles that have happened shortly. I'm getting the term shortly. That's not really correct. But it's sort of like cycles upon cycles upon cycles, personal, relational, generational, all these kinds of cycles coming in. The guides are saying, hey, wake up. Things are closing out. It's time to transmute anything that has been going on that has held you down or held you back. That's a 44 card. So this really is, I've been getting a lot of 444. I've been talking about that in my Pathfinders group. That kind of number is about any kind of structures that are holding us back. We need to build new ones. So 222 is a builder card, but it's kind of like build on what you have. 444 is more like, okay, once we get the towers and we see what doesn't work anymore, then we can build more effectively. It's not just about making it okay again. All right. This is about let's start with the things that are good, that, inherently good, if I can use that word. I know we're in a dark light kind of cycle right now about the dark is really fighting with the light. The light needs to shine more brightly. It can feel confusing sometimes because you can be inside of bubbles and you don't know until you're outside of the bubble that you're in a bubble. There's just a lot going on here for all of us. And the divine feminine is being asked to come face to face with some kind of darkness in yourself. Sometimes that's a really hard thing to do. And we're seeing our shadow. We're seeing all of this. This term radical transparency has been getting gradually over the last few months. We've been talking about our intuition and utilizing our intuition. That's what these readings are all about, is that you use your intuition to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Right. So this is about collective and generational kind of intuitive, what works, what doesn't work, and why. What does that mean when something works? What does that even mean? Like, okay, well, it means it's utilitarian. Okay, well, is that good for everybody? I don't know about that. What we're trying to get to is a shared sense of what is worth saving and what needs to be let go of. That's what we're working toward here, right? Boundaries. So we're getting a lot better at boundaries because now we can see if we're moving into, and I think a lot of people on the spiritual path are talking about what we really mean when we're saying getting to the next level of frequency, getting that next level of our expression on this planet. There's a lot of discussion about radical transparency. And then in the spiritual community, there's lots of talk about the crystalline body. And when we talk about the pain bodies, we talk about Eckhart Tolle, who has some amazing, I really recommend his books to you and his videos. He is a amazing spiritual teacher. And, you know, he's talking about all these different expressions of ourselves on the planet. And this idea of radical transparency about us being able to, and we've talked about this earlier this year, about seeing through stories that we tell ourselves and seeing through stories that other people are telling us and all of that. It doesn't have to be like this dark evil or this light, bright, saint-like energy that doesn't have a shadow. There can be a lot of things in between there. And I feel like we're getting to a very much more subtle definition of what we want to express in the world and being radically transparent in the world. I feel like that's what's happening with the divine feminine. Recognizing how to be completely crystalline. And I know that's another whole topic. We're talking about DNA. We're talking about other ways of us manifesting this physical experience and how our bodies are changing. Okay, how they like physically are changing. But also it calls to mind for me a lot about how does one become radically transparent, vulnerable, and still survive? Because it is going to be about that for the foreseeable future. And that's what makes compassion, love, vulnerability a superpower. Because as things evolve, as things move forward, that's going to feel very, I don't know, humbling, because we all have stuff that we don't want to say, that we don't want to share, that doesn't need to be on the front page of the newspaper. We all have things like that. And anybody who says they don't, that's a big red flag. Okay. So we all do. And with empathy becoming a superpower, right? Empathy becoming a superpower. What are boundaries? What do they look like? How fierce do you have to be to defend radical openness? What kind of warrior, what kind of spiritual warrior, what kind of energetic warrior is that kind of open and that kind of loving? We're going to see. 10 of Cups underneath. This is about the ideal. All right, this is about the ideal. This World card, 6 of Swords, Ace of Wands, 10 of Wands. So we get to this place of like, I'm going to say to you that doesn't really exist. There's something about idealizing what we want to create in this world. And what we're doing is we're setting ourselves in resistance to something way more expansive, way more powerful. And that idea is starting to filter in. Okay, that idea is starting to filter in to those of you on the spiritual path. These things have been opening up to me this last 30 days since the full moon in Capricorn at 1 degree and now 29 degrees. There's something there about completely flushing out any traditional assumptions. Let's just call them assumptions, because I feel like they are blocking our view. And it takes courage, real power and courage to look at your own bullshit and be like, yeah, that's not a thing. Or yeah, I made that up to make myself feel safe. But you're only really safe, if I can use that word, if you are who you really are, and everybody knows it. There's nothing anybody can do to kind of get under that and be corrupting that unless you let them. Unless you let them. And right away, as I'm saying that, like that feels to me like I have been working on that battle all of my life. And now we're to a new level that requires us to be more fierce, because it's like almost like a one-to-one relationship. The more transparency, the more fierce of a warrior you are. And the more hidden, the more shame-based that behavior is. And that means someone can get at you and hook into you because you have shame about something. So let's see where we're going here. Oh boy. High Priestess. Yeah. Really that's another iteration of the divine feminine that allows these sparks of these ideas to come through. High Priestess, Sun happening in Leo time. We're stepping into that on the 22nd. Healing energy of the star. So this is about us allowing ourselves to be, because radical transparency is not about being perfect. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about knowing and being cool with flaws, your faults, the things you are most shamed about in the quiet of your own room, the things you most fear other people knowing about you. I would recommend, and I feel like the guides are sharing this with us today, for you to think about the things that you are most terrified of people knowing about you. Those are the things that keep you from being this kind of divine feminine spiritual warrior. And this is showing up for a reason, because this is closing out a cycle. What was going on in 2008 for you? What was happening as we moved through 2008, 2012, 2016, 2020 with, us moving into the pandemic and still having that pandemic around. Still here. Not over. So when you're looking at all of that, and there's just this sense of wanting to make things go away, but it's almost like jet fuel for your power in some way. And definitely healing, because healing is not taking away that. Healing is not like, okay, I'm going to heal this and then I'll never have to think about it again. It doesn't have the disease or the difficulty or the shame or whatever like that is transmuted into something massively more powerful. 8 of Swords, 3 of Wands. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this, right? I'm going to hang upside down until something better comes along. No. I don't want to share all the things that make me ashamed. It's like the opposite of the philosophy in mid 20th century where everything was about appearances. Very important that everybody think this about us or this about me. Very important. What happens if that's shame-based for you or for your family or something like that? What happens if you're not okay the way you are? We've got to look a certain way. And if that's not really who I am, then there's shame transferred to you. Even though you might be like, well, but don't you have any goals or standards? Don't you want to aspire to anything? Yeah, but I want to aspire. I want to elevate what is real. I feel like the age of AI and what's going on in the world is showing us what has soul and what doesn't. We talk about this in Pathfinders about your intuition and about the real key to determining what's real and what's not is, does it come from soul? Does it come from a soul place? Or is it coming from a manufactured place? Because you can look at some of those pictures generated by AI and sometimes you're like, that's not real. You can look at some of the things that are shared with us, whether it's through a podcast or through its mass media or through whatever it is. Like nothing is off limits. Nothing is off limits because there's stuff going on behind the scenes all the time for a particular goal. And the more soul-based a thing is, the more clear, the more transparent it is, right? And radical transparency is even showing the things that might make you look bad, might make you be like, oh, well, I thought you were something else. Actually, let's just look at the soul. Let's just look at the soul. Four of Pentacles, the Wheel of Fortune, the Seven of Wands. So there's a hitch in the giddy up here, because this is like, yes, everything you're saying, I want to be that radical transparency. I want to have all of that. Oh, okay, wait a second. I have a mindset here of like, no, you can't touch this sacred cow, or you can't touch this sacred part of the experience that I'm having. No, no, no. Everybody else is lying. Everybody else is, has agendas and all this stuff, but not me. And that's going to hold you back. The hanged man is saying, nope, surrender to the soul. Surrender to the soul. Three of Wands. That's what's going to move us forward. And the Seven of Wands, boundaries become about something different then. They don't become about how you're protective of some kind of thing that you find sacred. We did this when I was at the writing retreat. One of the prompts was, what do you hold sacred? And when you write about that for a while, and when you think about that, if you recognize or realize that you're like, wow, I'm kind of putting this on a pedestal, then you can have it, then it can be knocked off, right? Then it can be knocked off. But if you have it as a natural part of soul, there's nothing to knock off. It's just soul, right? There's nothing to trample it, or there's nothing to show it up. There's nothing like that. And I just feel like that's the thing that is really going to be so liberating, as we move forward, that we are now going to recognize that boundaries are about, not about safety or keeping people out, but it's more about inviting them in a soul way. It's really about shifting into soul. It really is. It's really about shifting. Okay. King of Pentacles, shifting into soul. King of Pentacles here. The Death card. The Page of Wands. And the Six of Cups. So I feel like for a lot of you, this is going to be bringing up family. This is going to be bringing up how you were raised, or what the belief was in your family. And I just want to offer this to you, that people who are in alignment with their soul, let's just say they're in their alignment with their soul, and they're doing the best they can, unless they're not. Unless there is some kind of like, I want you to think that this is what's radically transparent, because I want you to think the same way as I do. And so there's a lot going on here, but I feel like with this full moon in Capricorn, what we're doing is, because it's conjuncting the Pluto energy, this full moon in Capricorn is really carrying us to a place of releasing our own fabricated boundaries that really are meant to hide things that are shame-based, or they're things about us that we want to work on healing, but they become superpowers. So this full moon in Capricorn is transforming us in such a radical way, bringing us all the way back, getting you all the way back into childhood, getting all the way back into that core of you. What are those belief systems? What are those things that you hold to be without reproach, or I cannot look at those? That's just how the world works. I feel like we're getting back down to that. And we're saying, this is how the world works. And we are going to have all of these things challenged. And it will, in my view here, what's being shown, or what's being transmitted through this energy that I've been picking up on for the last couple of days, has really been about what needs to be more transparent, what needs to be more radically transparent. in us, individually, relationally, generationally. That's what we're healing. We're healing a generational curse where we've hidden things behind closed doors. And it's time for us to get real. Okay, it's time for us to get real. I'm going to continue on. If this is your reading, I'm going to continue on. I will pull cards for each zodiac sign. So I'm going to go deeper into this very, very powerful moment for me. I hope for you, because I just feel like this is such a watershed time of clearing out what's been holding us back. Woo! All right, darlings. If you want to continue on with me, there's a link below, Pathfinders. We're just going to keep going. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If it was helpful to you, please consider liking this video and sharing it with anybody who might have a need for similar kind of information. And if you like this video, check out these videos.